Welcome, agents, to State of the Game for September 15th.
I like the intro. Welcome, agents.
I know, right? It's like I'm professional or something.
It's so official now. Welcome, agents.
All right, I know. I didn't even put on a voice. I'm sorry. If you were sticking around, if you were here during the countdown, you will have seen me intentionally troll you with a graph. It wasn't intentional, to be fair. but there's some cool stuff today. We've got Drew here. He's not French, like someone said before, like the other smelly French guy. Okay, confirmed. No magic today.
Yannick, I want to touch that beard.
No. Unless you're feeling. Anyway, yes. Drew, our senior game designer, one of our senior game designers, is going to be taking us through a bunch of cool stuff. And apparently we disappeared. No, we're back. We're back. Don't worry about it. Oh my god.
We're here.
Okay, no, it's fine.
We're good.
Don't worry about it, people. We're okay. Drew, correct me if I'm wrong. Have you ever been on the stream before? Maybe in the beta?
I haven't. I was on a podcast once, but
that's true.
That was it.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. That's true. Yeah. We've done this before in some sort of form. He has no beard.
Yeah, that's true.
No beard.
No
okay.
beard. Sorry.
So
Yannick's
spoiler,
beard
he's not a real massive employee. He doesn't have a beard.
Exactly. Okay, but for you guys, we have some server stuff today happening in the maintenance. Yannick?
Yeah, so we have our usual weekly maintenance. So from 9 to 12. It should be lasting for another 30 minutes, or maybe the servers are up already. I actually don't know. But yeah, it was all server side again. We put some tracking, some things. We know that there are a lot of performance issues going on right now, so we've actually implemented some more tracking to try to find out what's actually going on, and some more stability things. So no game changes.
Apparently my mic's dying.
Your mic is dying. Okay.
That's very strange. I'm sorry about that.
When are we getting this mic upgrade, Hamish?
I've got one of them.
Yeah.
Just not three of them. All right. You guys keep talking. I'm going to go have a look at it.
Okay. Okay.
Cool.
Sorry.
Or maybe you take the other mic. All right. Anyway, so we have a lot of things we want to talk about today, actually. That's why we brought you here. So you can talk about it, because this guy is just smarter than us, so he knows what he's talking about when it comes to game balancing. We just basically repeat what they say and say things wrong sometimes. But anyway, but there are a few things we wanted to talk about before we directly dive into 1.4. The Elite Task Force, for example. So last week we had a bunch of players that came here, 13 players, part of what we call the Elite Task Force. They stayed at Massive for 3 days. I know there's been a lot of discussion regarding what kind of players were there, what kind of profiles. Some people thought we just invited YouTubers or non-players. That's not the case. We invited like 5, 6-ish content creators, and then 8 of them were, 8 on top of that, were actually just like players, like you and me, just people that just play the game a lot, that love the game. And that applied to the Elite Task Force through the application form that we put online. And I say play the game a lot, but actually there were also some casual ones that don't play as much. So not everybody had 600 hours or 1,000 hours of gameplay, or even more than that. We actually had people that had below 100 hours of gameplay as well. So more casual profiles. Hamish is back!
I'm back. I apologize profusely for these crappy microphones. They will be getting upgraded very soon. Yeah. I have one of them, but it would be weird if we had one mic that was really good and then
that would be weird.
Microphone version 1.4.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
Make the mics.
They're coming soon.
Yeah, exactly.
So loud. Can you turn me down a little bit, please?
Okay. So Elite Task Force. So we had, so as I said, we had 13 players. So we went for profiles that were from very casual, very PvE oriented, to hardcore PvP, hardcore PvE, more solo, more group. We tried to select a bunch of people that were very representative of different kind of gameplay experience. And a bunch, of course, of YouTubers and content creators. These guys are still under NDA. There are a lot of things we talked about that they are not allowed to say or to give details, but we will let them talk about it as we reveal some of the details with 1.4. But there have already been some good content that has been created. So if you want to find out more about their vision of how the event went, there have been some very good stuff that was posted out there. So Deep Fried Dave put a very complete write-up on Reddit about the experience. So you can go out there. I can't remember. I think was it my impressions on the Elite Task Force? Or I can't remember how it's called.
I'm pretty sure it's probably still front page.
Yeah, I think so.
Probably something like that.
It was there this morning, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can go there. You can find it. There are some comments from other members. There is Shifty or Naked Cowboy. Sir Grumsalot also commented there. So all people that were invited and also gave their impression. So you can go and find it. There are a few videos that have been created. Upper Echelon Gamers. Chris actually made videos. Also a couple of videos already about it. So you can go to their channel and check it out. And then
Dave's in chat. Dave's
hey.
Who's that guy?
Who's that guy?
That guy.
Dave, can you
What's
give
up,
the link or the title of the thread you created on Reddit?
You can probably give the title if any of our
the link won't work.
No, if any of our mods can find that.
Yeah.
Gabe, if you're there, Gabe, if you're there, can you please post a link to Dave's thread? That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So there was a video that was posted last night by SkillUp, who actually
Eric's did it.
Had an interview. Perfect. Thank you, Eric's. So SkillUp made an interview with Dave also to go through some of the things and the experience and all of that. So you can look at that as well. And there have been many comments across Reddit and on the forums from members of the Elite Task Force to talk about the agenda, the things they did, and all of that. So they're everywhere. You can find them. And so amongst other things, when they were here, we had big discussions about the game, about the state of the game, not this state of the game, the state of the actual game.
We need to,
the state of the division.
the real status of the division development.
And and we had some brainstorming, some workshops and everything. And Drew here was actually part of it also.
Yeah,
yes.
So it was.
How was it for you as a real developer? Like not like us.
Right,
because we are too lazy to fix the game, but you actually are working on it. So how was it for you?
It was awesome. It was really, really awesome. Like to get the chance to meet not only like the content creators that we read all the Reddit posts and things like that from all the different people, and to see them in the studio and to meet them face to face was awesome. Right, to meet people like Marco and like other content creators as well was cool. But I have to say, just meeting people who are passionate about the game and want it to be the best game it possibly can be. So it was extremely cool for us to get the opportunity, because we don't get that opportunity very often, right? To interface directly with our players. So that was extremely cool.
Someone's saying, Yannick, you hate Drew. It's like apparently like you're giving them death stare.
No, it's admiration.
There you go. Admiration.
But I have admiration for your beard. So
there you go.
It's
a bit of beard envy. Guys, it's getting a little bit strange.
But there's one thing that you mentioned that is very interesting, though. Like when you say like content creators or even people that actually post stuff on Reddit and that you actually read regularly, because one thing that was super fun was in one of the presentations you gave during the workshop, like you showed them one of the game design documents that you were working on that we're going to talk about later. And at the end, in the appendix, you actually had links to sources.
Yeah, right.
And some of them were actually Reddit discussions or YouTube videos from our players.
Absolutely.
So, and that was like just showing that we are actually also kind of learning from that and reading all of that. Like, I mean, not we, but not like you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the whole design team, we are pretty glued to the forums, to Reddit, to YouTube. It's like pretty much a part of our daily routine. Yeah. So even though we can't always say that we are doing this, we absolutely are.
Exactly. Yeah. I just saw we got a host from Like Butter, who's also called Drew, by the way. Thanks, dude. Thanks for the host. People are pretty eger to get into some of the details.
I've seen somebody said enough bullshit. Get to the point. So okay, all right.
So we thought that would be really good to get Drew on today. One, because he gave a lot of this information to our Elite Task Force while they were here, but we now can give that information to you guys too. Parts of it. If you saw some of the graphs before, we have graphs today.
Okay, so we just have a bunch of things, just a few things we want to talk about before we get to the meat of it. Okay. Sorry.
That's all right. Come on, Yannick.
Come on. I'm going to be fast. Community. So, we have a lot of discussions going on in the community. Obviously, we're getting a lot of great suggestions for 1.4 or even beyond that. So we wanted to give a shout out to a few of them. Guys from the forums, we've been reading a lot of your stuff. So we have 8 Sinclair that made some great suggestions about weapon talents and what we could do with weapon talents to improve on that. Was super interesting. AVO 1997, also suggestions on named weapons, which is a very interesting topic because it's something we need to look at. no guarantee yet if it's something that's going to be part of 1.4, to be honest, but it's something that we definitely need to address.
I think that was the thread with talking about like, I don't need a 182 Midas, or when I'm DZ06, like that one, unless it's you're going to sell it, right? But that was a cool thread. Thanks for that.
So named weapons is definitely something we want to look at. Origami Train proposing a very interesting alternative approach to the rogue mechanics, where instead of like just killing players, having some specific triggers for rogue mechanic and everything, which is something super interesting as well.
Yeah, like the cut the rope trigger and that was cool.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's the situational PvP one. That was cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And on this topic regarding rogue mechanics, so one of the big thing that has been or generated a lot of discussion, a lot of comments, are the PvE/PvP Dark Zone. And we know that a lot of you guys have been discussing the benefits of having a PvE-only Dark Zone. What we just wanted to say is that this is definitely something we are reading and we are listening to, but know that we are not going to have any big changes of Dark Zone mechanics in 1.4.
No, not the dedicated Dark Zone mechanics, right? Like the rogue system isn't going to be receiving changes and that sort of thing.
There are a lot of changes, and again, what Drew is going to talk about will definitely have an impact on Dark Zone, but don't expect big changes of the rules of the Dark Zone for 1.4. So we just want to be clear about that. But keep the discussion going, though, because this is interesting for us.
Yes.
Okay.
Graphs?
Last thing before the graphs. PTS. So we delayed the PTS. Sorry. Bummer. Boom.
Yes, but for good reason.
It's good. It's very good.
We've delayed it. We explained that the build we had was not good enough, and if we would have released it with the build we had at this point, the feedback like that wouldn't have been a good representation of what we want to give you for 1.4. And we know that the PTS doesn't have to be perfect, and it won't be perfect. But still, there are things that we realized, and we realized with the Elite Task Force, there are things that are really key to making sure that you can give us feedback that's going to be valuable to us. We didn't have that ready to open it today. We are looking at hopefully opening the PTS next week, but this is still to be confirmed, okay? We are trying to make it happen, but it could be that it's going to take a bit longer. And when it opens, just because I know some people were confused about the dates, we said it's not going to open on the 15th and everything. When we open it, we're still going to have the same rules as what we announced, which is a few days of technical test for all the players who applied, all the PC players who applied to the Elite Task Force, and then open it to the public. So keep in mind that when we will announce an opening date, we will be talking about the opening of the technical test, and then you have to count a few more days until we open it to the public.
Yep.
And again, hopefully this is going to be next week.
All right.
Okay, I'm done.
Graphs?
I'm out of breath, but I'm done.
Did you breathe?
Graphs.
I forgot to breathe.
All right, that's fine.
Okay, all right. So no,
not yet.
Not
yet.
Give us a second. Not yet. Okay, 1.4 stuff. So, Drew,
very soon.
You've been working on some of these 1.4 things.
I have.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
What's been the focus for you? For you.
So a big thing that we've been focusing on has been time to kill.
Yes.
And also time to be killed.
Yes.
Right? Because we know that's not where it needs to be in Endgame.
Yeah.
Right?
You get killed super quick, even if you have good gear. And
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not fun, right? Like one of the things that we've been talking about is like, yes, it gets more difficult, but that difficulty isn't fun difficulty.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. So what were some of the things that you found? Because I know you looked a lot at the actual data.
Yes.
Around that whole theme. And some of the tests you ran were really, really cool. What were some of the things you learned from that?
Yeah, so like one of the things that we really wanted to do, right, was to identify kind of the current problems that we have with the game, specifically about time to kill and time to be killed, because in our mind, like, there's lots of other issues, right, that we want to solve, but that's kind of core to the experience, right? Like, we have to solve that before we can solve everything else, right? And so we then collected a bunch of data, an immense amount of data, right? And then we created all sorts of fun graphs and charts and all sorts of things, you know, which of course meant we had to take some time to interpret it and all of that kind of stuff. But basically, we kind of we developed something that went something like this, right? So first we identified the problems, which do we want to talk about?
Yeah,
I think they're important.
Yeah, let's go for it. Yeah.
Like we kind of knew that these were problems, but it was really cool to see those laid out.
Yeah, and these are things that like we have observed ourselves as players of our own game, as developers of the game, but also in Reddit threads, forum threads, YouTube videos, all of those things, right? And so the first issue is that in the end game, enemies are just too bullet spongy, and they deal way too much damage too, right?
Way too much.
Yeah. And so it's not at all like the 1 to 30 experience all of a sudden in end-game, right?
No, exactly. Like that 1 to 30 experience, and this is something that we've been talking a lot about on the stream. It feels really good.
Yeah, exactly.
Like your guns matter, your gun upgrades matter, all of these sorts of things. But that definitely gets lost at level 30, and then towards heroic content, it just gets blown out of control.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. And then we also know that for the vast majority of players, like their build doesn't matter that much. Unless they have a completely optimized build. So there's like a few builds that you can have in our game today that are like almost like necessary to play the game at endgame, right? If you don't have those builds, like you're not having a great time.
Yeah,
right? Sure. And that, of course, puts a lot of pressure on like the RNG. That puts a lot of pressure on like, you know, just in loot drops in general, and it has this ripple effect, right?
Totally.
Kind of related to that, like the game is too difficult for a lot of people, right? In the end game.
I mean, there's probably a bunch of people in chat that say it's not too difficult.
Yeah,
but these are the people who are super optimized.
Exactly.
Right? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. So our really hardcore players don't really have so many problems with that, right? The people who are reading Reddit and studying and like know the optimal builds. They really don't have too much problems with the difficulty. But what we find is the vast majority of players, though, actually do.
Yeah, exactly. If you don't have a max smart cover or max pulse,
exactly,
like someone with like Sentry in your group, like it's
it's pretty rough.
Yeah. It's not just pretty rough. It's super rough.
It is.
Yeah.
So, like in really, right?
There you go. Someone says it's not hard at all.
Yeah.
And then someone says it's too hard.
That depends, but that really depends on what kind of player you are. So
exactly.
And that's an issue.
But on a related note, right? Like, there's extremely limited choice for building like an effective build because there really are only a couple optimal paths, and that's not super cool, right? For an RPG, we're an RPG shooter or a shooter RPG, and like you want to be able to create different builds, experiment, and have them all be viable. But right now, there's only a couple that are.
Exactly.
And then there's just too much variability in your gear and weapon effectiveness. So you know, a lot of times you get loot drops and they're just completely trash, right? You get a bunch of dump stats and things like that.
100%. Yeah, and again, for a lot of you people, you guys know this. What we're going to get to is, you know, exactly how bad that is. And we have coming up some examples of how that's going to be dealt with.
I see a lot of people saying it's too hard for solo players. Yes, it is too hard for solo players,
100%.
but I would say not only for solo players. I say group players that are not these very hardcore optimized kind of builds are also having a hard time. So
absolutely,
you have to think that the player base is not only made of these fully optimized people. There are also a lot of people that are just playing with average builds, and for them, the game is also really hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Am I right?
Do we want to head maybe into that first series of graphs that we had? What was so can we just show? Yeah, here we go. Time to kill, right? So in your testing, you had comparisons, right? Because do you want to explain about why level 12 is important? Because people are probably saying like level 12. Why level 12, right?
Yeah. So level 12 is kind of our baseline, and that's what we balanced our entire game around without kind of the scaling, because we know that at level 12 we kind of make the game a little bit easier for players at the beginning as they're getting used to the game. So when you're playing in Brooklyn, the enemies die really fast. They don't deal very much damage, things like that. But at level 12, everything is kind of normalized. The gear drops are pretty reliable, so that we know that you're in basically full green at level 12. So that's been kind of our basis of kind of all our beginning of our balance work, right?
All right, cool. And then obviously level 30 is the end game. So we'll head back into that graph and kind of show you what we're talking about here. So along the bottom there, you see enemy level difference. What that means is, for example, the 0 point on there, that's enemies of your own level. If they are +5. So like here, if I'm enemy level difference 0, at level 12, that's my 0 point, and then +5, that'll be, you know, if I'm level 12 and fighting against level 17, that's
exactly. Yep.
All right, so if we just bring up the first plot point All right. So that is if you're using optimized gear at level 12. Like I'm level 12. I fully optimized my gear.
It's not, it's just like here. It's just average gear.
It's just average gear. Yep.
No, this one is the optimized.
No, that's not the optimized.
In this one, it's just the average. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yep,
Sorry.
you are.
Yeah.
Yep, it's all right.
All right. Okay. I'm giving away all the spoilers.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So I mean the time to kill does increase.
It does. It does. As you face higher level enemies, it makes sense, right?
That makes sense.
The time to kill would
But it's
go
pretty
up a little
linear,
bit.
Right.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
looks
exactly.
Cool. But at level 30, can we just bring up the next one? I mean, that's
Look at that.
Look
at that.
That's pretty much the experience
It's crazy.
that a lot of people are getting, and your testing doesn't even take into account the worst case scenario.
Oh, absolutely
or
not.
what some people would consider
exactly.
worst and best case scenarios.
Yeah.
This is pretty homogenized.
Yeah.
Yep.
And what some people are pointing out in chat, and that's the whole point here, is that level 12, the time to kill is linear. I mean, it's like the difference between a level 13 or level 14 or level 15 is also always pretty much the same. Whereas you see starting from level 30, then it gets completely exponential and it goes completely off the charts.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's you see that +5 enemy level difference. That's what your experience in heroic goes to. It gets very, very different. Anyway, let's move on to the one that I was actually getting ahead of myself on before.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about it a bit before? I don't know what's.
No, it was just.
That's pretty clear. And
Okay,
this next one kind of exemplifies that similar thing.
Yeah.
So this is the one I was talking about with optimized gear. Again, we're using the level 12 versus level 30 example.
Yes.
Again, so this now should make sense. This first plot point that we're going to bring up in just a second, this shows optimized gear at level 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, now I'm not losing my mind. And that kind of shows what we had before, right?
Yeah.
It feels good, like we said. Anyone who's played at that level, can kind of understand. Can we bring up the next plot point? So this is what you get with what kind of gear? Like, just...
Yeah, so this is like kind of your best gear, right, for your level. So at level 12, we're talking blues.
All right, but not optimized in terms of stats or that sort of thing. Okay.
Right.
All right, so the next plot point is going to be optimized gear at level 30. So again, it's not great. You can see that curve starting to hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this would be if you're still in your best gear, like all gear caps, 255 gear score, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
All right, but then if we show the next one, that's what happens if you don't have optimized gear.
Yeah.
But
you have great gear. You still have the same gear score.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So there's that huge variance. I think what's important there is to look at the gaps between optimized and best gear for each of those two levels, right? You can see that the gap between the 2 points at level 12 and the 2 points at level 30 they open right up.
Yep.
And again, they are actually in reality
much bigger.
Much
than that.
bigger, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes. So, not great. Tinkerai 1991 says, "Wow, that sucks." We kind of agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys, I know there are a lot of people saying we know that already, get to the point or whatever.
Yeah.
What we want to do here is we are going to give you solutions, guys. We are going to talk about what we are doing to fix that, but we want to kind of walk you through the process of how we've been looking at it and everything, because yes, we know that you guys have been talking about that for weeks or months, and we've known that for a while as well. It's just we want to walk you through the process of how we looked at it from a data standpoint and where we took our learnings from and then how we acted on it. So there will be answers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
All right. Do you want to go into some of those?
Yeah.
What do you have?
So I've got some other stats.
Oh,
real
stats
quick.
are good. I love stats.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
That's usually Yannick's job, but we now have
but it's not. It's
an
not the same
actual
game.
statistician.
Yeah.
So.
But if we talk about mods, right?
Weapon mods, yeah. Weapon mods and gear mods.
And gear mods.
Okay.
Because it's actually a very similar story.
Okay.
So at level 12,
yeah,
your mods only contribute about 6% of your time to kill or time to be killed.
Okay.
Right?
All
6%.
Just effectiveness in general.
Very small effect, right?
All
But I mean, in an RPG, 6% is it's okay, I guess, but it's kind of small, right?
Mm-hmm.
At level 30, it's more than 40%.
Okay.
That's a huge increase, right?
Yeah. What's that, 7? Yeah.
It's 6.5 times about, right?
Just under 7 times. Okay, that's a lot.
But that's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah, exactly. So they're just mods at level 30 just super important.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So all of a sudden they become a critical part of your build,
Yeah.
right? And if you are not building exactly correctly, like that can swing. And this 40% actually is much smaller than the real number because I'm not even including in recoil, magazine size, accuracy, kind of all those other things that we have, like on mods, right? I'm just talking pure DPS.
Just like your paper DPS, not your effective DPS that can be affected like a lot by stability and accuracy.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
So skills, another interesting thing to look at, right? So we know that skills increase the DPS of a player, and specifically, right, I'm talking about DPS increasing skills like Pulse and Smart Cover.
Yeah.
By more than 78% at level 30.
That's a lot.
Okay, which is a lot, especially considering this is when you don't specialize in electronics.
So this isn't even capped.
So this is a
All
completely like, you know, balanced player who's like, I don't really care about electronics. I don't care. I'm just going to use these two things.
Yeah.
They're going to get huge benefits, right?
Exactly. But if you cap out skill power, like then it gets crazy.
Yeah. Oh,
Right,
like way more than that, right?
Yeah.
And it's also something weird that happens, right? Like the increase in the power of specifically Pulse increases from level 12 to level 30, even though you're not specializing in electronics.
Okay.
That's weird.
So all of a sudden it gets 1.5 times more effective at level 30. Right?
Just for free.
For no
Just
reason.
for free.
All right,
Yeah.
that's
reason,
weird.
just because it's doing it.
All right.
Right? So you might be thinking at this point, you're like, wait a second. You're talking about the game being more difficult, but you're talking about how like maybe we're overpowered or something?
Yeah.
Like, how does this add up?
So
Right.
yeah, exactly.
And I think you guys have talked about this before,
Yeah.
but Endgame was kind of balanced, right, for the outliers,
Yeah.
right? Which is a problem.
Yeah. Especially because they are outliers by such a huge factor, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And because the gap between our best players and our kind of average players is so large, and we happen to balance for the best players,
Yeah.
it means the game is just almost,
It's super hard for so many people, right?
Yeah,
Like, it's
exactly.
just-
I mean, it's just frustration for the average player. And if we talk about numbers, right?
yeah.
Like we kind of estimate that the gap between the kind of worst player at a level versus the best player at a level is about plus or minus 150%, right? In terms of time to kill and time to be killed.
Okay.
And that's at level 12, right?
All right.
And so 3 times. Okay, that seems fairly reasonable.
Yeah.
But then we look at level 30,
Yeah.
and it's like 250% plus or minus. So
Okay.
5 times, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But that's not considering, signature skills,
Yeah.
actually like min-maxing and things like that. Because if you do that, we think the number is actually closer to 10 times.
Yeah.
10 times.
10 times.
Easy,
If-
probably,
Which is
yeah.
huge,
It's like,
right?
Yeah, it is.
That's really big.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Apparently, I have to stop looking at you guys because everybody says I have death
the death
stairs.
It's
don't
also
know why.
very bright, and
I don't know why.
It's
so
very bright in
Yeah.
here, and we're not at all professionals, as you know. But yes, Yannick doesn't hate Drew. He doesn't hate me. I hope
No,
it's
I
not a thing.
I don't hate anyone. I don't hate people. All right. Anyway, back.
Yeah, 10 times. Damn. Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's
Yes.
exponential. Yes.
Got some mathletes on the stream.
It's a lot.
Woo.
Yeah. No, it's a lot, right? So it's kind of the takeaways, right, from this was that enemies with a greater level than the player, they're just too powerful after
Yeah,
level 30,
exactly.
right? Like, that's not fun. The other takeaway is the gap between the worst and the best players, it just grows too large in the end game. We need to make that a little bit more forgiving for the players in the bottom, right?
Definitely.
And kind of bring everyone up
yeah.
a little bit, right? Or at least
Exactly.
closer to the best. Not we still want that gap, right?
Yeah, you
because
still need variation. Like, there
Yeah,
has to be-
exactly.
it has to be rewarding to optimize
Yeah.
your gear.
yeah. Like if you're a really smart player and you know how to optimize,
Yeah.
like you should be better.
Yeah. Of course.
Like we know that, but you
Yeah.
shouldn't be 10 times better.
Yeah, that's
that's-
a bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Like, it's a bit out of control.
Yeah, exactly. We know that mods become too powerful in the end
Yep.
game.
Yeah, by a lot.
Especially when you talk about handling and things like that. Like they turn your guns into laser cannons and they increase the DPS a ton.
Yeah, I think that's something that I experienced going through 1 to 30 again. The guns felt like guns. 'Cause
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember
You actually have
like,
to aim, right?
in the alpha, which was 4 to 8, levels 4 to 8, and you picked up like an AK-47. sure, it's powerful, but it's like, yeah. It's cool, like, because you play differently. But right now, everything's just.
That's the first thing you notice when you start over again from level 1 and everything. It's the handling of the guns, which is like, oh my god, I forgot that it's like that.
Yeah.
But what's cool, right, is when we have a little bit more handling on the guns, it means that we can effectively decrease the health of the NPCs.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, because if the guns handle super well, it means you're landing more shots, which means your DPS is higher, which means the enemy health needs to be higher to compensate, because we still want similar time to kills.
Exactly. But that's not cool in like kind of like it loses the shooter feel.
Exactly.
Because you're just unloading.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I think that's cool. Like having the guns feel like guns.
Yeah.
Like your effective DPS.
Yeah, and having the NPCs feel more like humans.
Yeah. So
like
when
that's also cool, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
When they take a hit, they actually take the hit.
Yeah.
You know? That's cool.
Yeah.
All right.
We know that skills become too powerful in the end game without specializing in skill power. Or actually, I mean electronics. I don't mean skill power. Because you get skill power from your gear pieces, of course. And we know that smart cover and pulse tend to be the most used and the best kind of skills for most players, right? We know that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so talking about fixes then, right? So where do we go from here? The fun stuff. So the first thing we're doing is we're fixing enemy health and damage, scaling post-level 30, so it matches the 1 to 30 curve.
Yes, exactly. And that's so cool. For people who are thinking like that the way it's going to happen is that everything will stay the same and we'll just adjust those values, that's not the case. And I'll let you kind of explain that. It's a lot more.
Yeah.
But that's the first step. So you're like bringing back the linearity. Is that a word? You're
exactly.
making it linear again.
Right.
Past level 30.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we kind of know, right?
Yeah.
As an example, a very well geared player, like pretty average gear for his level, no mods, no skills. We know it takes about 9 assault rifle shots, body shots, not headshots, to kill a Riker's Enforcer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The grunt in that faction. But all of a sudden at endgame, right, we know that it takes way more than that. Well, what we want to do now is we want to preserve that.
Yeah, exactly. So if you get the top level gear and you're fighting top level enemies, right?
Yep. It takes
it should be the
same amount. Exactly.
Great. It makes sense.
Seems like it makes sense, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. I think chat's already pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
All right.
I think we have a video, right?
Do we want to show? Okay. So the time to be killed and.
Let's talk about that. Yes.
Time to be killed.
Yeah, that's a hugely important topic.
All right. So we're going to show you a video in a sec. Just to preface this is not the example of what your experience will be. This is just indicative of the kind of experience that you will have. Obviously, there are so many variables. I think in this example, it's an enemy that's 3 levels above you, or is it the same level?
So it's a level 33 Riker's Enforcer veteran.
Okay. All right.
Versus a gear score 229 player.
Okay.
Who is balanced build, so they haven't specialized in any way.
Okay.
They're not using skills, and they're not using weapon mods or gear mods.
All right. So can we just bring up the time to be killed video? And this will kind of loop. You'll still be able to hear us. But you can very quickly see that what we're going to have for you later. I think it's about 3 times.
Yeah.
Right. So I think the first guy on the left dies in about 2 seconds.
Yeah, you see the health bar that just goes down directly.
And again, you guys know that if you've played the game, your experience can be a lot more severe than this.
Yeah.
Like it can. You guys. Well, I say you guys, but us too. Like.
Yeah. Right.
In the underground, like like in heroic mode, like you get one shot a lot, even with good gear. This isn't level 35 NPCs. This is 33.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly. This is way worse if you're running heroic incursions, right?
Yeah. Or like
that's like 1/10 of a second.
Exactly. And someone says like, show shotgunners, please. Like, this isn't shotgunners. This isn't even snipers.
Right.
But this is just again an indication of in this one specific instance where you're fighting against this one enemy, and you're basically not doing anything.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really cool direction for us to go in, and these are the kinds of things that people will experience on the PTS.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. And again, It's going to take us a little while to go through all of these things, and soon we'll show you the other side of this, the time to kill.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to talk a little bit more about this because I think it's really, really important to say that this is part of your bigger project, right? The whole enemy scaling and that sort of thing.
Yes, which we'll talk about.
Yes, this is. It seems. Whenever I've heard this, it seems like you adjust a few things and now the end game's going to be different, but there's a lot more coming. So
yes,
time to be killed. Can we take a look at time to kill?
Yeah.
Quickly. So this is again a similar.
Yeah. So it's
this is exactly the same.
The same context, except this time we are killing the NPC.
Is this the example where you're using the ACR? Is it?
Yeah. So this is an ACR unmodded.
Okay.
Yep.
And people know this isn't the best gun in the game by far. Yeah. But again, just for the purpose of testing.
Yeah. And again, not really optimized build or whatever. Also, of course, the experience in game would be completely different, but
yeah.
Yeah. This is so right now in this example, time to kill is about half.
Yeah.
Half the size. But you will again, if you optimize your gear and you're not using an ACR, if you're using something a bit better than that. Okay. The whole weapon thing is a discussion for a different day. But that's definitely going to change.
Yeah. So that's basically the first change.
Yeah.
That's the first thing.
Indeed.
Time to kill, time to be killed.
Yes.
All right. That's a big change, and this fits into like a greater scheme of your level, the enemy's level, like gear level, and
exactly.
that sort of thing. Is now a good time to go into that?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So we know that from looking at time to kill and time to be killed, that we have a really big need in our game for greater granularity when we talk about difficulty, right? Because right now, as a player, you play at level 30, you ding 30, right? You can play normal mode missions, sort of, not really, because they don't level up, but you can play hard mode missions, right? And that jump is like, that's like not too big of a jump, right?
Sure.
But then you have hard to challenge. That's a huge jump.
Yes.
Right? I mean, that's crazy. And to make matters worse, in order to play challenge mode and actually have a fighting chance, you need the loot from challenge mode.
Yeah.
Right? That's like, you get in this catch-22, which isn't super great to be in,
exactly.
right?
And it's even worse for solo players. Because
exactly. Because challenge is group only, right?
So basically, like if we're being honest, to play challenge mode solo, you need to be
You're pretty hardcore.
You have to be hardcore. You have to have everything maxed out. And then to play heroic mode solo, don't even get me started. You know, there are some people in chat who are going to be like, I do heroic solo. Okay, you're a god.
Right.
That's
yeah, exactly.
fine.
Like, you're awesome.
But there's not many of you, let's be honest. Okay. All right. So how do we combat that? Is the next big,
what's your plan?
What's the plan?
What's the plan, Drew? Come on.
Okay.
So we're reworking the way that Endgame works and Endgame scaling works.
All right, take a second to kind of think about what that means, because the first time Drew told Yannick and I this, we were like, oh, you change a few things around, it's a little bit different. Listen very closely to what Drew's about to say, because this is different.
Yeah, pay attention because it's a complicated one. So
and we'll try and
so I can't mess
keep
up.
it very, very clear.
No pressure, Drew. No pressure. Just
I will have to run off camera because we have some visual aids that I didn't include, but I think there's a couple that are really, really important.
Yeah.
So if you guys want more images, I'm going to have to run off again, but it'll take me like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're changing the way that endgame difficulty scaling works. And so we have a couple goals with this, right?
Okay.
So I want to start off just by saying, like, why are we doing this, right? Goal number one is we want greater granularity. We just talked about why we think that's important. We want kind of an even transition in the end game. We don't want those huge difficulty spikes.
Yeah.
We want better rewards.
Yes.
We want relevant rewards, right? And this is going to help us do that. So no more of that. I need the gear to play this content, but I can't play this content because I don't have the gear.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. That's
more
not
of that.
a cool thing. That's not fun.
Right. Hugely important. We want to help solo players.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? Solo players don't have a lot of options in endgame.
Yeah.
And so we really want to help them out.
Yeah. Or even play somewhere in the middle. Like, if Yannick and I just want to play together, maybe one day, then it's, again, not just like I have a group of 4 or a group of 1, like 2 and 3 people as well will benefit.
Yeah. Really important to me because, I mean, I love RPGs. but I'm also a huge shooter fan, and I want to bring back that great shooter RPG gameplay, right? Like as a player, right? Like I want that back, and so we want to bring that back.
Yes.
We want to have those, pretty snappy kill times, but we want to leave room for all the RPG mechanics to kind of take hold, and for gear to matter, and all of those things.
Gear to matter and gunplay to matter as well.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we're missing right now.
Exactly. And then kind of finally, we want to make it really obvious kind of for players, like the path through Endgame. Like, so make it, because right now it's not super obvious what you should do as a fresh level 30, for example. Yeah. You're like, oh, I don't know, how do I increase my gear score? We want to make that trip a little bit more on the nose, right?
Yes.
So we want to help players out by doing that. So should we talk about it?
Yeah. Yes, please.
Yeah.
Please, come on.
All right.
I think,
Okay, so big thing. Players in 1.4 can now select the world level when they hit Endgame.
Okay, world level is a new thing that that you guys have never heard of. World level is a new thing. All right. What does world level mean?
Yeah, so what world level means is you are able to set the entire world. So all of the NPCs and all of the rewards you get to a certain level.
All right. People are freaking out.
Whoa!
Okay. Yeah, like,
what does that mean?
What does this mean?
Explain.
Yeah, what does that mean? Yeah, yeah.
So when you hit level 30, pre-level 30, forget about world level, right?
Yep.
That doesn't matter.
Don't have to care about it.
So run me through this. I ding level 30, what happens?
Yep. So you ding level 30, you get a little notification that says, hey, you can now set your entire game world to level 30.
Okay.
Right? And we're going to put you in something we call world level tier 1.
Okay. All right. That is cool. Now's a good time for me to go and grab an image for you guys.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's
do that.
Let's show what it looks like, because it's going to help a lot, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you guys will still be able to hear me. You guys can keep talking. Don't worry about me.
So you can still hear Hamish, but you can't see Hamish. That's confusing.
You can hear me.
So we need to add. We have a screenshot or a
It's
couple
today's
screenshots.
magic trick.
Yeah, it's the magic trick. There's not going to be magic
over on
today.
the
There's
other side
just
of the
there's game design magic. That's all. That's all we have. So yeah. So you choose the world level. So what does that change basically?
So so you choose the world level, and that is going to change all NPCs.
Yeah.
Damn it.
In the in missions.
Yeah.
In the open world, which I'm really excited about, because that means we're bringing back named roamers.
We are bringing back the open world.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
Underground, incursions.
Yeah.
And the dark zone. Now, big disclaimer with the dark zone.
Yeah.
We're still going to place you in the bracket that you belong in, because we don't want really good players ganking low-level players, right? Like we don't want that.
Go to a lower
right.
bracket. Yeah.
All right, Drew. So what do we see here? Obviously, I see world bracket 1, but you can also change the bracket.
Yeah. So on the top left, you have the world bracket.
Yes. Right.
All right. Cool.
So up here we see the new world bracket. So that's tier 1. You see the little globe icon with a 1 next to it. And you see a little notification that says, hey, there's a new bracket available.
All right. And then
so you can
like
select one. Oh, and here's our menu.
Yeah.
So this is the player changing the world level. So tier 1, of course, is everything is level 30.
Yeah.
And I should point out that the rewards are all 163, or up to 163.
Yes.
Cool.
Right?
All right, I'm back.
So there is, of course, a small chance that you could get a drop from someone that is 182.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Which is pretty cool, I think.
All right.
But yes, so when you finish a mission, all of those things, you're going to get 163.
Yeah.
And 163 is going to make you overpowered for level 30 enemies.
So there is an important note about 163.
Yes.
Because we are also doing a couple changes to gear score.
We are.
So when you say 163, that's not only high-end 163.
Yes.
That's also gear sets.
It is.
Right?
It is.
Yes. So they won't be like... gear sets won't be inflated at the same level.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
So gear sets are now going to be more reflective of their actual power.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I guess it's clearer in the extreme example where max level gear sets will all be 229.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's no 268s anymore. It's just a flat 229, making them the same as your favorite Reckless chest piece, your Savage gloves.
Yeah, exactly.
229 flat. So the max gear score will be 229.
Yep, 229.
Yeah.
So just to make it clear, because so people don't get confused, we are not adding new gear score of gear sets. We are just basically changing the gear score of the gear sets that exist.
Yep.
So the ones that were, what was it, 191 was the first tier of gear set, I think.
Yeah,
Will
I think
be
so.
163. The 214 will be 182.
182, yep.
The 240 will be 204. And the 268 will be 229.
229?
Yeah.
Yep.
So they're on the same gear score as the high-end items.
Yeah.
Which makes it more consistent and easier then to apprehend.
Indeed.
And understand.
Someone says they'll be kicking everyone that's not 255. In the next update, no one's going to be 255.
Right.
The
Everyone's going to be
max players will be
229.
229.
Yeah.
Which also means actually, and maybe this is a topic for another discussion. Sorry if I spoil something, but it means that
No, it's cool.
orange items,
Yeah.
they're going to be better.
Yep.
Because they need to be on par with gear sets,
Yep.
right?
That's cool.
So, yeah.
That's awesome, man. Okay, so going back to setting your world level. I mean, you guys might have covered it, but it might actually be worth, not just for me, but for everyone at home to do it. So I get to level 30. I can set all of the NPCs in the world to level 30.
Yep.
Open world and dark zone.
Yeah. So
Right. Did you
Dark
guys
Zone,
say
we
that?
talked about
Right.
Dark Zone. There was the exception of it selects for you,
Yes.
but it generally will match that. But what it means is in the Dark Zone, if you are placed in that first tier,
Yeah.
all the enemies are level 30.
Yes.
All of them.
Guys, just to clarify, when Drew says orange, he means high end.
I'm sorry.
Yep. Yeah, go on.
There is some
Developer speak.
There's some internal confusion over if that yellow is yellow or orange because it's kind of gold and
Yeah.
there's no new tier of
Sorry.
anything.
High end. Sorry.
One other quick mention about gear score because I think just to make it clear also when we say like a 268 gear set item will now be 229, we are not nerfing the gear set. We are changing the value of its gear score just so it's more consistent with high-end items. And actually, on the contrary, we are more kind of buffing the high-end items to bring them on par with gear sets.
The end result is you're going to be killing things a lot faster and you're going to be surviving longer,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah. Exactly.
Yes.
But it's not when we say we are changing from 268 to 229. That's not basically we're removing whatever 30% of power. That's not how it works.
Okay. Maybe I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but I think it's important. So you set all of the enemies in the world to level 30, including in the PvE zone.
Yep. In the PvE zone. So
we talked
and
about
we're
the
bringing
open
back the
world.
name roamers as well.
Okay, we did say that. All right.
Yep.
Okay.
So
Great.
Bullet King lives again.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
He will live again and again and again.
Right.
Exactly.
And again.
So guys, remember when we talked about that whole that thing where people are bringing up, make the Dark Zone PvE. We now have outside the Dark Zone where you can do those things.
So if you want to farm PvE,
just
you
do it
can
outside the Dark Zone.
Right. And I don't want to spoil on the loot update. I feel like I'm spoiling everything.
No,
now.
I think
can talk about the loot update.
I think it's important.
But all enemies have a chance to drop the best gear.
Yes.
That's the other one.
This is the other thing.
Right.
That's very, very cool. Okay. Again, there's a lot of details coming out right now. So to reiterate, what Drew's saying is, as a player, if I'm running around in the open world and I come across Bullet King, great. He's going to drop something for me. If I come across random dudes, no-name bosses, there's still a chance that you will get gear.
Yeah, just like in the 1 to 30 experience, right?
Exactly. So you can get like the best or relevant gear. There's a percentage chance to get that from trash mobs.
Yeah.
And that's not just in the open world. That's pretty much in all the activities except the incursions.
Not incursions.
Right. Incursions, we block that because,
Yeah. But the whole idea is that we no longer want you guys to have to go through this activity that's going to take like 10, 20, 30, 40 minutes, whatever, and only get the reward at the end. And then if you fail, it's super frustrating, it's super punishing because you invested all this time and you didn't get anything. Now, all the time you invest is that many chances that you will actually get something on your way to the end reward because you may get some drops during the process.
Yep.
Yes.
Indeed.
Someone's asking, is scavenging back then? We'll talk about scavenging another day.
But we want to talk about difficulty.
Yes.
Because now we're talking about world level, right?
Yeah.
So we're scaling things in 2 different levels now, whereas everything was kind of 1 before.
Sure.
Because we know set enemies to level 32.
Yeah.
Except in Underground, I think it was 33.
Yeah.
And Heroic set enemies to level 35. We're getting rid of that.
But Heroic main missions with 33, it was weird.
Yeah, exactly.
Like what?
So we're getting rid of that.
Yes. I like this.
So world level affects the enemy level. Always.
Yes.
Always, always, always.
Yeah.
But we are keeping the difficulty settings of normal, hard, challenging, heroic. Now, heroic is only for incursions now.
Yep.
So we're removing it from underground, and we're removing it from some of the missions because we didn't do anything special. We just...
I'm going to move your mic a little bit.
Yeah, sure thing.
There you go.
Oh.
What an intimate moment
I know,
caught
that's
on
right.
camera.
That's okay. We got it.
But yeah, we didn't do anything except increase the NPC level, which wasn't that exciting. And yeah, we want to get away from that because the game is a lot more fun when you're fighting enemies of your level and dropping loot relevant to you. So anyways, the only difference, right? So you're thinking, why would I play hard or challenge mode?
Yeah.
So you're not going to get the best gear. Or, I'm sorry, you're not going to get better gear by playing hard or challenge or heroic mode than if you were playing normal.
Okay.
You're going to get more of it.
Okay. That's
a big change,
okay,
right?
that's a really, really big change. So, okay. I think it's kind of easier to run this through as like a player story, right? So I'm level 30.
Yeah.
Right? I'm a solo player that can do, normal. That's cool. I'll run through and I'll still get the best gear relevant for that level.
Absolutely.
For tier 1.
So 163.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right? And if I get good enough and I can do it on challenging, I will get the same gear, just more of it.
But more of it.
All right. So like if I'm in a group, I could probably do challenging.
Yeah, exactly. And kind of the way we expect it, or we want it to work, right, is that if you are not super well geared and maybe you're not the most skilled player, then maybe normal is the optimal path for you to gear up, right? Or maybe you just like the time to kill and you like that level of challenge. You can play normal and you can get the best gear in the game.
All right, this is making people happy. I like it. Tears of joy, I see.
And it's not just about solo players. It's also for group, it's the same. Because since you get more rewards out of higher difficulty, as a group, you will probably not start with normal. You can directly start with hard, or maybe you can more quickly start doing challenging, so you will actually get more rewards by doing the challenging. Whereas the solo player is probably going to have to farm normal and hard for a while before he can actually do challenging. So it's going to be slower for the solo player, but still he can achieve
exactly.
the same.
Yeah, exactly. So it's also kind of a like a time investment standpoint. You have to figure out what is maybe the most effective path for you, because maybe you really should be playing normal mode, but you're trying to play challenge mode, and it takes you 2 hours to beat challenge mode.
Yeah, so it's about efficiency, right?
And it's like, well, it's way more efficient to grind normal or hard than play challenge.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're probably not having a good time if you're playing 2 hours of a challenge mode mission.
Yeah,
I'm just guessing.
Or maybe you are if you're masochistic.
Maybe you are, but you can still do that if you want.
You can challenge
we're not
yourself
here to
if you
judge.
want to.
Yeah, you can still do it, of course.
Yeah.
Or if you on the other side of things, you want something that's too easy for you, that's fine too.
Yeah,
You
totally.
can still get great gear. Like maybe you just want to I don't know, watch something on Netflix and play. I don't know.
Yeah.
So just to continue with the player story. So you're 30. We said you're doing all this normal, hard, or challenge, or you go through normal, hard, challenge, or you just farm normal, whatever. You get all these 163 items, and eventually you're geared up to close to 163 gear score.
Right. So then you get a notification.
Yeah.
That unlocks, and it says, "Hey, the next tier is available." You can switch to it anytime you want. You can stay if you want, and you can really optimize your build for 163, or you can change the world level to tier 2, which is level 31 enemies.
Yep.
So again, the open world, level 31, dark zone, all of that stuff, 31. And then you can get 182 gear.
Yeah. But then you still get access to all the difficulties, so normal, hard, challenging, but with 31 enemies.
So it is worth pointing out, though, that challenge mode will not exist in tier 1. It'll unlock in tier 2, and heroic incursions will not exist until you reach tier 4.
Okay.
Because that's the most hardcore content.
Yeah.
We want to kind of make sure that the players are completely geared up and
nice.
And
so I mean,
ready
that,
for
it just makes sense
And
that there's a really clear way to progress through. Obviously, there's a few questions. Yes, you can de-rank the world.
Yep.
You want to
Anytime
go back and play some really easy stuff.
Yeah.
Again, you'll get the rewards that are in that tier.
Right.
But that's cool.
Yeah.
You can do that.
And so just regarding tier 4, so tier 4 is the maximum.
Yep.
And that's where you get the 33 NPCs and the 229
229s. Yep.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the other clear thing to point out. There will be no level 34 or 35 NPCs.
Yep. None.
Gone. All right. Cool. And again, that doesn't also mean that this is the thing that's a bit tricky. You don't want to think about it in the context of what we have right now, because you're like, oh, 33 NPCs are like this.
Right. Yeah.
30, 31, 32, 33 NPCs are going to be entirely different after 1.4. We, as players, will be entirely different after 1.4. So don't jump in the game today and be like, that 33 NPC is this difficult or easy to kill.
Yeah.
It's going to be different.
Yeah.
But there'll be time to figure that whole thing out.
So there was a very interesting question in chat, which is something I guess you wanted to talk about. But what about how does it work with matchmaking?
Yes. So, oh man, there's been so many questions about matchmaking that we've had to solve on the development side. So yes, ask me any question you want about matchmaking. I can answer.
All right. So,
so the way it generally works is when you matchmake, you're only matchmaking for people in your tier.
Okay.
So in your current tier, if you are in tier 1, you are only going to matchmake with people in tier 1.
Okay.
Right? You are not going to be able to matchmake with people in tier 4. However, if you have a friend who is in tier 4 and he invites you to your game, you can play with him in tier 4 content and you'll get the same drops.
Even though
so you get power level.
Yeah, even though you couldn't be able to reach tier 4 yourself on your own.
As long as your friend invites you to his game.
Okay, you can join him in his tier. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And you'll directly get the 229 items that are coming with tier 4.
Exactly. So you can, and then you'll eventually unlock, tier 4 yourself because you've been getting the gear.
Yeah.
And then also conversely, you can have the other situation where I'm in tier 1 and I've got a tier 4 friend. I can be like, hey, can you come help me with this thing? And he can come to my tier 1 world and blow through.
Yeah, exactly.
He or she can come to my tier 1 world and just blow through everything.
Exactly.
And that's fine too.
Yeah, totally.
Do what you want.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
That's cool. PvP info. So, I mean, we did allude to it before, that while there are no dedicated changes to PvP mechanics or the Dark Zone, a lot of this does apply to the Dark Zone and will change the way that the Dark Zone functions. And again, it's too early to exactly say what the new meta will be. We'll find out, I guess, some of those things in the PTS.
Yeah. But we expect time to kill to get better.
Yeah.
Time to be killed to get better. And both sides, right? Like, you could one-shot people. Like, some of that stuff, we're not explicitly fixing it, so it might exist, but it should be just inherently a little bit better.
Yeah.
So,
see, people are worried about things like, especially on console, shotguns and that sort of thing. We'll continue to monitor those things. That's a big concern for us, that the PvP experience is still good, but the rogue mechanics won't change and that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Right. There are two questions interesting. The first one, what happens to the PvE supply drops, the season pass supply drops? These always scale to your gear score, so they won't be impacted by the world tier, or will they?
Or
you don't know?
So I think those are remaining the same. So they look at your current gear score.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also the other question that was interesting, that one for you, how does the difficulty work between solo and group players? How do you change the difficulty? How's the scaling working there?
So do you mean specifically for challenge mode, are you thinking?
Yeah. Like going from normal to challenge mode, what do you change in there?
Yeah.
In the difficulty, since we said it's always about 30 enemies.
Yeah, I see. So so when we go from normal to hard, we basically change all normal NPCs into veterans, the purple guys.
Yeah.
And then we change all veterans to elites, the yellow guys, right? Or the orange guys, I guess, actually. Whatever color that is. The gold color, that's not the named one.
The high-end.
So we do that for hard mode, but then challenge mode, we spawn completely new NPCs, as you know, right? Like when you're playing.
Yeah, you played some of those challenges.
Yeah, exactly. Where you get the 4 heavy flamers and things like that. But we basically we keep that spawning, and most of them are elites and things like that. But what we are changing, though, is we're getting rid of the forced 4-player scaling. Because our NPCs, when you play in a group, the more players you have, the NPCs get a little bit of a health increase and a tiny bit of a damage increase to compensate for greater players.
Yeah.
So we're removing that, though. So you can now play challenge mode in 1 player, and you won't get those extra health increases on the NPCs or that extra damage increase on the NPCs.
It's still going to be harder for you as a
It's still going to be
player.
hard, yeah. And I guess to piggyback off of that, something we didn't talk about is that NPCs, elite NPCs, their behaviors have been improved in a lot of ways.
From an AI perspective?
From an AI perspective, yeah.
Yeah.
So you'll kind of see them. They'll. We wanted to kind of address difficulty in terms of more shooter challenge, Twitch challenge to the player, instead of just stat scaling.
Yeah.
So like we really wanted to, kind of improve their decision making, make them a little bit more defensive of their lives. So they sprint to cover and they'll stay there as opposed to occasionally wandering out and shooting, and they'll move a little bit faster. They'll kind of do all of those things.
Yes. All right. So a lot of people are very happy about that. What is the time?
We're
way over time.
Yeah, we're way over time. The servers are open, guys. The servers are open.
This is the benefit of us being having the flexibility to run our own streams. Is a show that should have taken half an hour is now well over an hour.
Yeah.
So we had another graph that we haven't shown. The one that you leaked or spoiled.
Yes.
At the beginning.
I think it's
it's this one. So what is it?
All right, Drew, do you want to take us through?
Yeah. So this is the time to kill in NPC in currently versus what it will be in 1.4.
Exactly. I mean, you can see the 1.4 ones. It just really goes to show that we want to keep that. As well as what I was talking about earlier. We want to make sure that as you level up and you fight harder enemies, not level up, as your gear reaches new levels of awesomeness, and you start taking on those bigger enemies, that the time to kill doesn't increase.
Exactly.
So that's cool. And like you can see, there's no orange bars for 34 and 35 NPCs because they won't exist.
Because exactly.
We didn't miss something out. They will not exist.
So the idea is that if you have a gear score that actually matches the level of the NPC, no matter what's the level of the NPC, it's always going to be pretty much the same time to kill. That's the idea. Which was not the case before, which of course was a bit weird.
Right.
All right. Awesome. Thank you very much. I mean, we've got to hit off in a second. Guys, what are your first impressions from these things?
The producer is asking, make Drew say something I can disagree with.
Okay. No, but people are obviously, I think, if you've been watching any of the streams lately, Yannick and I have been pretty happy about some of the things that are coming.
Yeah.
And again, this isn't 1.4 in its entirety.
No,
this is an element of 1.4.
This is one of the big changes. There are other things, and there have been a lot of questions. There has been a lot of questions in the chat about gear. What are we going to do to gear? Because you highlighted a lot of issues with gear, the gear scaling, the mods, the contribution to all of that. We said we want to bring back the more of a shooter aspect. This is another part of the discussion. This is another part of the big changes we're bringing with 1.4. So this is not something we will talk about today, but there will be another discussion about this because there are also big changes coming out there. But keeping in mind that the goal is that the experience is going to be much better. So I know that a lot of people said, but if you're reducing the health of the NPCs, I'm going to be completely OP and I'm going to wreck them.
Right.
That's part of the discussion. It's like we don't want you to be. I mean, you can be completely OP at some point because if you worked for this very good gear,
we want you to be overpowered. If
you can be overpowered.
If you have overpowered gear.
If you have overpowered gear, exactly.
But the whole power between the player and the NPC is going to be completely different in 1.4. So that's not. We're not just changing the NPCs. There will be changes as well to gear and player stats.
Yes. Wow. The patch notes for 1.4 are going to be pretty long.
Yeah. We also have. So if you didn't get all of the changes here because it's a lot and we went through things and it was a bit messy maybe at points. We have a dev blog, a complete dev blog that we worked on with Drew that explains all these changes again. That will be published later today. So you'll have a complete written format of all the things we talked about.
I think that's going up in like 5.5 hours. So
in a few hours.
You guys will get that. Again, thank you very much. A lot of people were asking, is this going to be recorded for later? This will be in our past broadcast as soon as this broadcast is ended. I think what I'll also do for people who don't want to go back and look at past broadcasts and want to hang out and chat and do those sorts of things, well, not chat with us, but chat amongst yourselves, I'll rebroadcast this one overnight and that's that.
ETA October. It's still 1.4 is still scheduled for release in October. We don't have a precise date to share yet because we want to make sure 1.4 is good. So we're not going to commit to a date and then be like, actually, we're pushing it and whatever.
PTS.
October.
What about PTS?
PTS, hopefully next week. Again, it's not 100% confirmed. We are trying to make it for next week, but depends on the progress we're doing in development and on the things we can put in this build. But hopefully next week.
Perfect.
Looking forward to it.
All right.
Yes.
That was a cool statement.
And all the guys asking, what about skill bugs and everything? Yes, there is a huge pass on bugs. We are just not talking about it here. But yes, there are we fixed many of them already. You'll see the patch notes are just going to be crazy.
Oh my god.
You guys want details, you'll get details.
Yeah, so there'll be a lot of those. Okay, we're going to leave it there because we've gone like way over time. My God,
Yeah, sorry.
I think Drew has to get some work done eventually.
Yeah.
You got to go make this happen.
I
now.
do. I need to go back.
All right, please, everyone. Obviously this is one of the state of the games that has more info than maybe we've ever given on the state of the game, which is cool. I know that there's going to be threads on the forums, probably already. We're really, really keen to see what you guys think of
absolutely.
this. It's going to be a lot of new stuff coming your guys' way, so I'm very, very happy. All right, we got to go. I want to hang out all day, but we can't do it. All right, Gabe's going to be streaming right now, so hang out and give Gabe a... No, be nice to Gabe. I was going to... No, be nice to Gabe.
Whatever you can say.
Let's go. We'll see you guys soon.
All right.
Later.
Take care, guys.